We're here today with Megan Chapman from Altieri Insurance Consultants. We're continuing the process of our educational series here with Associa Gulf Coast. I'm Paul Petroulis, Business Development Manager with Associa Gulf Coast. Continuing down that path of making sure that our unit owners, our board members, and our managers have as much good information as possible and answer any questions that you all might have. Again, today's valued guest here is Megan Chapman from Altieri Insurance Consultants. Megan, if I could, first of all, welcome, but more importantly, could you give everybody a little bit of background, not only of you, but also of Altieri?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me and our company. I really appreciate it. So yes, my name is Megan Chapman. I'm a Regional Business Director, Business Development Director for Altieri, and Altieri Insurance has been around for over 30 years, and we are a public adjusting firm. And what that means, a lot of people, don't know what public adjusters are, and if they do, sometimes, unfortunately, they have a bad taste in their mouth on what that means. But basically, we are a policyholder or the insured's adjuster. So if you have an insurance company or a claim, they have their own insurance adjuster, and we represent the insured. So we negotiate, we advocate on behalf of the insured. I've been in insurance for over 15 years. I actually been on the carrier side of things. I more recently switched to this side, but I was a claims manager, training director for years. So I really understand insurance from the carrier side and have done that for many, many years. So being on this side and being able to advocate for the insured has been a lot of fun.
So when you're talking about for the insured, that's the victim, if you will, somebody who had water damage or something like that. Am I right to understand that the yes. Insured is the victim, for a lack of a better phrase?
Yes. So in the world of insurance, the insured is the person that owns the policy, has the policy, the person that is making the claim against the insurance company. That always sounds so negative, but that's what it is. So it's a homeowner, it's a unit owner, it's the actual board, as far as the property itself. So yes, it's the person that has the actual policy that they have purchased and paid those premiums to the insurance company.
Perfect. I like to think that insurance in and of itself, and please don't be offended by what I'm about to say, but I'd like to think that insurance in and of itself tends to be a very dry subject. It tends to be a very confusing subject because, yes, we all need insurance, but let's be honest, people don't understand insurance at all unless you're dealing with it on a day-to-day basis or you're in the industry. Is that fair?
It is fair. It's extremely dry. It's boring, honestly. I mean, I've done it for so many years that policy has kind of become second nature to me, but it's not to the average person or policyholder or condo unit owner. Unfortunately, insurance policies are very difficult to read. In one section, you have coverage, and then two sections down, they take that coverage away, and then you can buy back an endorsement to get that coverage back. So it's I always jokingly say it's like another language, because it really is. It's so hard to understand. They're very complex.
As a licensed manager, and I readily admit that even myself, I don't understand insurance. I believe personally that a lot of the managers, the community managers that work with boards on a day-to-day basis, they're in my boat. They don't understand the nuances of insurance either, which is why professionals like yourself can be so valuable. When it comes to understanding policies, policy reviews, how does your firm do a policy review on behalf of an association working with the manager? So how does that process work?
Yeah, well, so obviously you buy a policy from an agent, and an agent really in essence is a salesperson. So they are equipped with a lot of times you're dealing with brokers, and they're representing a bunch of different insurance companies and a bunch of different policies. So they kind of have an overall general idea of what they're selling and kind of make sure that you're covered from a broad general perspective. And a lot of times it's driven by getting that premium down so they can earn your business. And that's not a knock on them. That's just people are always cost conscious when it comes to that. So we come in from a claims perspective. If you have damage that happens to your property, a pipe breaks, there's a fire, there's a hurricane, we look at it from a claims perspective and say, okay, this is the policy you have, this is the coverage you have, these are the exclusions, these are the endorsements, these are the limits, and if this, and this happens, you're going to only have this much coverage for this, you're not going to have coverage for this, you're only going to get this dollar amount for this. So we can give you an idea of maybe where some holes are or where some deficiencies are that you can bring back to the agent. They can bring back to the agent to say, okay, we need this coverage more here. We need to apply more limit here. So really that allows us to be prepared so that unfortunately, if and when a disaster strikes, we know that there's going to be coverage, and that especially in a board situation, they're not going to be out of pocket money and have to assess their unit owners because they didn't have enough money from the insurance company. So we really can help to eliminate that by doing it before the claims happen.
Totally makes sense. Now, I'm going to bring up a scenario that happened in the late 2017, that wonderful little rainstorm called Hurricane Irma.
Right.
Now, that is a whole different bucket of issues, right? I mean, we're talking a named storm. But that, ironically enough, that exposed, in a good way, the lack of understanding of policies, not only from the board member's perspective, but also from the manager's perspective. And it's not a knock on either one. It's just that since we might not have been dealing with actual hurricane damage for years and years and years, now that we had to deal with it, for lack of a better phrase, there was a lot of unknowns when it came to who had what coverage, named storm deductibles, those types of things. Really, where I'm going with this is that the policy review, if you will, the service that you provide, looking at, is there a better time of the year, for lack of a better phrase, when a good policy review should be handled? And how often should the policies be reviewed with the board of directors and the managers, in your opinion?
So definitely yearly and before hurricane season. So we pretty much say sometime between January and March is ideal, and on a yearly basis would be ideal because you know, as policies come up for renewal, you can, you know, evaluate that and discuss those with the agent. So yearly is ideal. And yeah, definitely before hurricane season hits, because we know that those sometimes come in and hit us completely unexpectedly. So better do it before they hit.
In the opening, you mentioned you're an adjuster that represents the insured. Who's actually representing the insurance company in that example?
So there are, in the insurance world, there are a couple different adjusters that they have. Some insurance companies have what they call staff adjusters. Those are ones that are employed by the insurance company. Typically, those are ones that handle more of what you call your daily claims, pipe breaks, some fires, kind of, again, more things that just kind of happened on a daily basis, so to speak. And then you also have what you call independent adjusters, and that's where the insurance company will contract with an independent adjusting firm. That firm provides field adjusters, desk adjusters, and those typically are in more of a catastrophe situation. So when you have tropical storms, hurricanes, so they have their own team of adjusters that will come out, meet with the insured, whether that's the unit owner or the property, and they will do an inspection, write an estimate, and offer a settlement based on their assessment or inspection of the damages.
And that's obviously going to be one-sided. And that's not negative. It's just that that individual is employed by the insurance company. So naturally, that quote-unquote settlement offer is going to be generally one-sided, tilted towards the insurance agent, or the insurance company, I should say. In your role, you're representing the policyholder. So the idea there is you're going to be making a possible, I'm going to call it, communication with the insurance company about what would be fair and equitable. Is that a fair way to establish that? Yeah,
I mean, you have to keep in mind, you know, I worked for the insurance companies for 15 years. There's good and bad in every industry. People are people, they're human. So people make mistakes. I don't think the insurance companies are big, bad insurance companies. I don't think public adjusters are big, bad public adjusters. I think you just have some people that are good at their job or better at their job than others. And adjusters that work with the insurance companies are no different. I mean, sometimes, unfortunately, out of their control, their claim volume, their caseload is huge. I mean, they'll have 100 claims going at once. Mistakes happen. Things get overlooked. They miss a coverage. So that is why when you have someone representing you, the insured, that really understands policy and coverage to advocate on your behalf, 9 times out of 10, we are able to find more coverage. We're able to negotiate a higher settlement, you know, to get more money in the insurance pocket. And it's not a dig on the insurance company ever. It's just we're able to kind of be an unbiased representative to really help that communication and have a much better result at the end.
Sure, and a different way, if I'm phrasing this the right way, please let me know. If I'm not, let me know that too. But you are effectively the advocate for the insured. You're taking their side to make sure that if they're going to be made whole or whatever settlement discussions are happening, you're coming from that position of knowledge versus just a unit owner or the insured who just says, yes, I see a little bit of money as a settlement and I just want this to be done. But you, from a professional standpoint, you can look through the layers of any sort of settlement in that kind of an example to understand really what's going on. Is that a fair representation?
Yes, it's very fair. So we're able to kind of take the emotion out of it, and kind of even the flip side of that. Let's just say even a property, an actual building, the board doesn't have coverage for something, but the insurance company says they don't. Well, sometimes they immediately, it's because the insurance company doesn't want to pay. So we're kind of a voice of reason, kind of on both sides. We can say, yes, you have coverage for this, no, that you don't. And then we can help with the insurance company to, reach a better settlement that gets that property back to pre-loss condition. So yeah, we really are just kind of a unemotional, unbiased advocate on behalf of the insured.
Now, what is it, in your opinion, there's a gap here in the knowledge of a manager, right? And there's a gap here in the knowledge of a board. It's not bad. It's just that we don't deal with these things on a day-to-day basis. Is there one thing, or is there a takeaway from your perspective in the event of a insurable event, or even the perception of an insurable event? What are the first steps that both the manager and the board should be aware of? Meaning, should they call you first? Should they call the agent first? Should they look up at the sky and go, oh my gosh, what just happened? What's the best kind of steps to take in the event that you have an actual, I'll call it an insurable event?
Yeah, so immediately, typically, honestly, when an event happens, most people think call either restoration company, mitigation, or a contractor. And they think because they got to get it fixed. And honestly, that sometimes can actually cause more harm than good. And the reason is it's a very specific language in pretty much every policy out there under the conditions section that there's the duties after loss. And you have a right to mitigate your damage, which means you have a right to basically stop the damage so that no further damage happens, but you are not to make permanent repairs. So if anything goes beyond that mitigation, preventing any further damage, and goes into that realm of permanent, you run the risk of not having that covered or paid. So it is really important to call us first, because we can really help coordinate. We can advise, we can say, okay, we need to do this, this, and this. We're going to get this contractor out there to, tarp the roof, board up the windows, but we're not going to do any more. We're just going to prevent further damage. So we really are kind of, there to quarterback everything. And so it's important to call us first, and then we kind of can help point in the right direction on who to call next, to really make sure that we don't do anything to jeopardize the claim or the settlement.
So that being said, in the event of an insurable event in this example, when an issue happens, it's fair to say that the first call should be made to you to get it on your radar and start to engage that process. Then obviously we would engage the insurance agent to allow them to be aware naturally of what's going on. And if I'm understanding this correctly, whether or not the manager or the board thinks that this is an insurance claim, something happens and there are boards and there are managers who don't want to engage the insurance companies or the insurance agents because, oh my gosh, if we file a claim, all of a sudden our premiums are going to go up. Is that a fair understanding? If we just call the insurance agent that there's a possible issue, is that really filing a claim? Is that really going to trigger an increase in premiums?
Okay, so yes and no. So if a claim gets filed, and then it's a claim on the system, so to speak. So unfortunately, yes, once a claim is done and filed, you can withdraw it before an inspection. Most of the time, that sometimes will not go on the record, but it kind of just depends on where it is in the process. So we always say, call us first. Let us give you an idea of what we think there is going to be coverage, or if this is even worth it, or if it's going to be over your deductible and make it worth it. And then we can get the agent involved and we can actually file the claim. Now, in named storm situations, hurricane situations, no, you aren't dinged individually. You aren't dinged like as a unit owner or as a property. It is assessed across a zip code because pretty much a majority of people are going to be filing claims. So it kind of gets spread up across a zip code. Now, if you accidentally let the stove on and you burnt down your kitchen, then obviously that's an individualized claim. And yes, premiums can go up from that. So premiums are kind of funny. It really just depends on the scenario. So I always say don't file the claim until you talk to us and we can tell you if it makes sense or not.
Fair enough. So the best rule of thumb, if you will, is if there's a potential event that you think you need to engage the insurance company, the insurance agent, is to give you a call first, let you do a simple evaluation, if you will, and then reach out to the insurance agents and get that ball rolling at that point. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Well, Megan, I really do appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for your knowledge and your expertise, and certainly making our board members and our managers' lives just a touch easier in the event of a significantly emotional scenario when stuff happens, for lack of a better phrase. But when a manager or a board member or even a unit owner, if you will, needs to reach out to you, what's the best, most convenient way, if they're not watching the screen and they're just listening to this as a podcast, what's the best, easiest, most convenient way for them to reach out to you?
Honestly, that's on my personal cell phone, which is 317-340-1652. Again, that's 317-340-1652.
Outstanding. Again, Megan, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you in the future.